Right, Beth, we want to be clear here. This story is not to slam the Department of Child Services or police who work every day to protect kids. DCS's job is to investigate child abuse, and sometimes that involves removing children. But with a growing number of reports to the state hotline, you could become the subject of an investigation. This story is about protecting yourself.
Julie Bomber lost almost everything when she tried to do the right thing. When her sister couldn't raise her newborn son Philip, Julie took in the baby and offered to adopt him. But when he was 5 weeks old, he suddenly stopped eating.
When the results came back, they said that there was bleeding in the brain.
One doctor's diagnosis, shaken baby syndrome. Julie was in her 20s at the time and was unable to afford getting another doctor's opinion at trial. She was sentenced to prison for 15 years, but after 5 years, the Innocence Project helped exonerate Julie. But by then, baby Philip had been adopted and Julie had no right to see him.
To be told that I would have no contact with him, that's a cross that I'm going to bear for the rest of my life. That's a heartache.
Julie's case happened in Michigan, but Indiana attorneys say Hoosier parents need to be aware that even the innocent can find themselves under investigation for child abuse and neglect. Brian Caillou represents families in cases involving Indiana DCS.
It can happen to anybody. It's a phone call or an allegation.
A DCS investigation can start at a hospital with an unexplained illness, or if your child says something that raises a red flag at school.
Child's doctor can make a report, a therapist at school, a teacher. DCS has to investigate.
Caillou says false allegations happen, such as in custody battles, which is why it's important to know what your rights are. You have the right to ask for ID, ask what the allegations are, and consult an attorney first before responding to DCS. You don't have to let them in your house.
Because what happens is you get sucked in. Oh, just talk to us for a little bit, and you get sucked in, then all of a sudden you're sitting in the house, they're looking around.
If you don't let DCS in, though, they can often get a court order to get inside. Ask for a copy. DCS can talk to your kids without you present as long as they have reasonable cause to suspect abuse or neglect. Ask to have an attorney present when you or your children are questioned. But no information you share with DCS can be shared with prosecutors. Caillou suggests documenting everything.
Write down everything you can possibly think of that relates to it so that can be used for a defense attorney in trying to address it.
If DCS decides to remove your children or file a child in need of services case against you, you have the right to a court-appointed attorney, the right to present evidence, the right to cross-examine witnesses, and the right to have your child's case reviewed by the county's child protection team. Back in Michigan, Julie learned the hard way you can never let your guard down, even if you're innocent.
So as a layperson, you put your trust in them, and you don't expect the system to fail. And unfortunately, the system failed. And I just happened to be a victim of that.
In Indiana, you do not have the right to find out who made the report about you or your child. That is confidential. Now, if you'd like to report suspected abuse or neglect, you can contact the DCS hotline at 1-800-800-5556.
Well, Kara, what about drug testing and all of this?
One Indy attorney told me it's actually better to take a drug test and fail than it is to refuse a drug test altogether. They can take your children even if you refuse a drug test. However, if you are positive but are working toward getting sober, you have a better chance of keeping your children.